Very good morning. Okay, so we are discussing about the utility which we are going to complete it by today, and after that we'll start the demand supply. Okay. So under the first we discuss the meaning and definition of utility. Then we move to the measurement of utility, where we have two measurements according to the new classical economist, particularly by Marshall. Utility can be measurable or it can be quantifiable. So, which is called as the cardinal measurement of utility. According to the cardinal measurement, the consumer can attain the equilibrium, or given his money income and the price level, the consumer can attain the maximum utility as per the equi-marginal utility principle. Under the ordinal utility measurement, we use the indifference curve and the budget line to identify the consumer's equilibrium, and we found that where the budget line will be tangent to the indifference curve, that point will be the consumer's equilibrium. So here we were discussing the effect of change in the income and the price level upon the consumer's equilibrium. Okay, or we are saying income effect and the price effect. So here, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Suppose the consumer is initially equilibrium at point A, where the budget line is tangent to the indifference curve. Now, if there will be an increase in the income, we know that there will be outward shift of the budget line, as a result of which budget space will increase and the consumer can attain the equilibrium at a higher indifference curve. So here the equilibrium point will be at B combination, where the consumer is able to consume more unit of the fish as well as more unit of mangoes. Now here it is assumed that both the commodities are normal goods. Okay, and we know that if any commodity it will be normal good, income effect it will be positive, as a result of which with increase in the income its demand will increase. Here due to increase in the consumer's income, the demand for both fish as well as mangoes it increased. But if we assume that one commodity is an inferior good, whereas other commodity is the a normal good, we know in case of inferior good the income effect it will be negative. Suppose we assume fish is a normal good, whereas mangoes are inferior goods, then how the income effect it will work? We know that if mango is an inferior good, then with increase in the income, then the demand for mangoes it will decline. But as fish is a normal good, with increase in the income, the demand for the fish will increase. It can be explained with this. Okay, so here you see initially the with the original income the consumer was at combination A. When his income increased, his demand for the inferior good declined and his demand for the normal good increased, as a result of which we are moving from A to B, where the consumer is consuming less inferior good and more normal good at a higher income. Okay, so we have already given the example inferior good and the normal good, fan and AC, you can say. When you are poor person, in each of your room there will be the fans will be installed. But when you become more richer, then your demand for the fan it will decline. You will be installing more AC. Okay, so in this case, we can say a fan is an inferior good as compared to AC, because of which with the increase in the income, the demand for the fan is declining. So at a higher income level, your quantity demand of the inferior good is less and vice versa. Then what is the effect of the price change? It is important. The effect of the price change, it can be explained that suppose originally we are at the equilibrium, okay, and uh, price of fish was $4, price of mango was $1, and income was $1,200. Assuming the price of fish will uh, fall to $2, then how the equilibrium it will happen. Now, as we know that the price of mango remaining same, if the price of fish will reduce, now with the existing income, the consumer can able to purchase more amount of fish, as a result of which the budget line will shift along the x-axis, so that now with the entire income the consumer can able to purchase double the amount of the fees as compared to earlier income. Okay, now how the equilibrium it will be happening. Now the consumer's equilibrium will happen in such a way that the consumer will purchase more amount of fees but a less amount of the mangoes. Why this is happening? This is because even though the price of a mango is same, but the price of fish reduced by 50%, but now the mango is relatively expensive to the fish as compared to earlier the combination. When price of fish was $4, price of mango was $1, the mango was relatively cheaper. But when price of fish is reduced by 50%, then mango becomes relatively expensive. Although the price of mango is same, but mango becomes relatively expensive. As a result of which, the consumer substituted more of the fish for the mangoes. As a result of which, quantity demand for fish increase, on the other hand quantity demand for mango decline, and it happens because of two effects. One is income effect, another one is substitution effect. Income effect means when the price of one of the commodity reduced, even though income of the consumer is equal, price of the other commodity is also equal, but with reduction in the price of one commodity, the real purchasing power of the consumer increased, because with same money income he can able to purchase more of the commodity X, also more of the commodity Y also, because the price of one of the commodity has reduced. So a higher real income or a higher purchasing power, it will motivate the consumer to purchase more commodities. Then another effect is called substitution effect. Substitution effect means if the price of one commodity it will reduce, other price remaining same, then this commodity it will be considered a relatively cheaper to other commodity, or other commodity becomes relatively dearer, as a result of which the consumer will substitute more and more amount of cheaper goods for the dearer goods, or the consumer will purchase more units of fish and he will reduce the number of mangoes so that he can achieve a higher level of satisfaction. So these two effects are working. Therefore, we are saying price effect is the combination of income effect and substitution effect. Here in this example, we just saw that even if the price of mango is constant, but the price of fish reduced, mango becomes relatively expensive as compared to the fish, and fish become relatively cheaper now. Therefore, the consumer is interested to purchase more amount of fish and less amount of mangoes. It is all about your ordinal utility and the consumer's equilibrium. Okay, if you have any doubt, you can ask me. Any doubt from this?
No, sir.
Okay, so already the PPT is added. You can read it. Okay, then we have to just start the another small concept. This is very. It will take means less than as a half an hour to complete. Okay, then we'll just stop the class after this. Okay, which is called demand supply analysis. Yes, demand supply. So all of you must be coming across the terms demand and supply. Okay, so even if you are from economics, not economics, engineering, medical, but you will be coming across the terms called demand supply in the economy. So in this we will read what is the meaning and definition of demand, okay, and what is the meaning and definition of supply, how the demand supply meet together to determine the price and output in the market. Okay, so before we'll discuss the meaning and definition of the demand, we'll see how this demand supply works in the economy. So in the economy there are two groups basically. One is the consumers side, other side is the producers side, or entrepreneur, or you can say the farm, and the consumers are the households. Actually these two, they come across to uh, do the market activities. Okay, suppose households, they used to supply the inputs to the input market in terms of labor, in terms of capital, in terms of land. Okay, household, they used to supply the inputs to the farms, or we can say farms demand inputs from the households. On the other hand, farms supply output to the households, or we can say households demand output from the farms, or in other words we can say households are supplying the inputs to the, means for the production process to uh, the farms, whereas farms supply the finished products, final goods in terms of mobile phone, laptop, okay, and other finished products to the household for the consumption purpose. As a result of which, households as well as farms, they exchange inputs and outputs for money, or they used to make the demand and supply, whereas households supply inputs, farms demand it. On the other hand, households demand output or finished goods, whereas farms supply it. Then what is the meaning of demand? So you will be understanding the meaning of demand as the requirement, no? Requirement or interest to purchase, or you can be understanding as a necessity. But in economics, demand exactly is, I mean, not exactly only necessity or the requirement, but you can say it is your demand when you have desire to purchase a commodity backed by ability to pay for it. Suppose you have a desire or you have a requirement to purchase something, but if you don't have enough money to buy it, then it cannot be called as your demand. It can only be called as your willingness. Or suppose you have enough money to buy, but you don't have any desire to purchase, then also it will not be called as demand. This is the general meaning of demand. But according to one economist, Penson, he said that demand means three things. One is desire to purchase the commodity. Second is ability to pay for it. You should have enough money to pay for it. Third thing is willingness to spend your money income. Many people will be there, they will have interest to purchase something, they will have enough money income with them, but they are not interested to spend that money, then also it will not be called as demand. So these three things together can be considered as the consumer's demand. Okay, then what are the determinants of the household demand? So, what are the factors affecting the household's demand? First factor is the price of the product. If the price of the product it will increase or decline, it will affect the household demand. Second one is income of the household. If household income it will increase or decline, his demand will also be affected. His demand will increase if income will increase and vice versa. Then households accumulated wealth. There is a small difference between income and wealth. Okay, which is explained in the next slide. So accumulated wealth of the household also it will affect to its demand. Then prices of the related products, as we know, these can be substitute goods, this can be complementary goods. If the price of the substitute goods or complementary goods it will be increasing or declining, it will affect the demand for the other commodity. It is like if the price of petrol vehicles remaining same, if the price of electric vehicles it will decline, or if the electric vehicles will be more cheaper, then the demand for the petrol vehicles will decline even if its prices are equal, because prices of the related products it also can affect the household's demand. Household taste and preference it will affect its demand. Household's expectation about future income, wealth and prices will also affect its demand. Then the quantity demanded. Quantity demanded is the amount of a commodity that a household would buy in a given time period if it could buy all it wanted at the current market prices. Or we can say quantity demanded means the quantity of the output demanded at a particular price during a particular period of the time. How to understand this? Suppose here we have the price is there, quantity demanded is there. So as the prices are increasing, quantity demanded are declining. Or we can say at lower price quantities demanded will be higher and vice versa. Then if we'll plot this relation between the price and quantity demanded, then it will be looking like a downward sloping curve, which is called as demand curve. Therefore, the law of demand explains that other things remaining same, there is an inverse relationship between price and the quantity demanded. So this is called law of demand. Any doubt up to here?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay.
No,
Thank
sir.
you for listening. It is there will be no doubt because I'm simply it is explaining because it is also easy to understand. But if you are not listening, then it might be difficult. Okay, in the latter stage. So the demand curve then it will be downward sloping or the slope will be negative because there is an inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. As a rational consumer, when the price will be very high, you will be interested to purchase less unit of the commodity. When the price it will be very low, you will be interested to purchase more units of the commodity. So the slope of the demand curve it will be negative or the demand curve it will be downward sloping. But apart from this, there are two more properties of the demand curve. So the first property is the demand curve, it will intersect the x-axis. Demand curve will intersect the x-axis means even if the price is zero or even if the commodity is freely available, still the consumer will purchase a limited amount or a finite amount. He will not go for the infinite amount even if the price is zero or the commodity is available free of cost. This is because of diminishing marginal utility. The major factor, other factors are also there. It is like the time limitation, the lack of the storage the capacity. But the most important thing is that law of diminishing marginal utility. As your stock of something will increase, your marginal utility it will decline, and sometime it might be zero. Okay, okay. Somebody is asking something or not? Yes, Saurav or hmm? You are asking something? Okay, okay then. Okay, so demand curve it will intersect the x-axis because of the law of diminishing marginal utility. This means even if the commodity is available freely, but you will not go for the infinity numbers. Okay, then second one is the demand curve will also intersect the y-axis. This is because the price cannot be infinity because your purchasing power is not infinity. You have a limited income, so you cannot afford the unlimited the price or infinite price. So the demand curve it will intersect the x-axis also. Demand curve will intersect the y-axis also. At the same time, it will be downward sloping or having a negative slope. Then the difference between income and wealth. Income is a the flow measure. It is to come every frequently, but wealth is a stock measure. It is the accumulated of income and other assets. Okay. Then related goods, one is normal good, second one is inferior good, and the normal good and inferior good this can be identified with the income effect. If the income effect it will be positive, then the commodity it will be called as normal goods. If income effect it will be negative, it will be considered the inferior goods. Then the substitute goods and the complementary goods, as we know, when you can use one good for the other, it is called as substitute good. And in case of perfectly substitute goods, there will be straight line downward sloping indifference curve. Already we have explained. Then the complementary goods, when your demand for one good automatically lead to the demand for the other good. So it is called as complementary good. So already we have to give in all the examples and other things. Then shift of the demand curve versus the movement along the demand curve. Then as we know, in the x-axis we are using the quantities demanded, and in the y-axis we are taking the price. So if the quantity demanded is influenced by the price of the commodity, then it will be explained by movement along the same demand curve. But if the quantity demand is affected by any other factors like income and other things, then that will be explained by the shift of the demand curve, because price will be remaining equal. If the quantity demand is affected due to other factors, it will be explained by the shift of the entire demand curve. It is explained here again and again. Impact of change in income, as we have already explained, the income effect in case of inferior goods. For increase in the income, the demand will decline, as a result of which the demand curve will shift inward. In case of the normal goods, with increase in the income, the demand will increase, as a result of which there will be outward shift of the demand curve. Already we have explained this in the consumer's equilibrium in the before this discussion. Okay, so means when there will be negative income effect in case of inferior goods, there will be positive income effect in case of normal goods. Then impact of change in the price. So as we are explaining, in if there will be increase in the price, there will be decline in the demand for a particular commodity, and which will be explained by the movement along the same demand curve. Example, the hamburger and its price. When the price of hamburger increase, its quantity demand reduced, as a result of which there is a movement, upward movement along the demand curve for the hamburger. On the other hand, suppose we are assuming the ketchup is the the complementary good to the hamburger. If the demand for hamburger will reduce, demand for its complementary goods will also reduce. As a result of which demand for the ketchup will reduce, and it will be explained by inward shift of the demand curve. On the other hand, suppose chicken is the substitute good to the hamburger, and we know if the demand for one good will reduce because its the price will increase, then the demand for its substitute goods will increase, as a result of which the demand curve for the chicken it will shift outward. Okay, then household demand to the market demand. As we know, the market demand is the sum of household demand. Suppose there are two households in the market, assuming household A and household B. The sum of household A's demand and sum of household B's demand equal to total market demand. Suppose household A is demanding 3 units at price equal to 4, household B is demanding 4 units, then total market demand will be equal to sum of 3 and 4 equal to 7. When the price will reduce, household A's demand will increase, household B's demand will increase, as a result of which total market demand will also increase. Now we'll read about the supply in the output market. Demand is from the consumer's point of view. Every consumer want to purchase higher quantity at a lower price and vice versa. As a result of which the demand curve is downward sloping. For the supply curve, it will be opposite to the demand curve because supply is from the producer's point of view or from the seller's point of view. Higher will be the market price, higher will be the profit margin for the seller. Therefore, when market price will be higher, the seller will be interested to supply more units to the market or more quantity to the market. As a result of which, there is a direct relationship between price and quantity supply. Okay, so because of which supply curve will be upward sloping. The law of supply says that other things remaining same. Here the most important thing, we are assuming the law of demand or the law of supply, it will be working only when other things remaining same. If other things will be changing, then these two law may not work. Therefore, the law of supply says that other things remaining same, there is a direct relationship between price and quantities supplied. If prices will be higher, quantities supply will be higher and vice versa. Then what are the determinants of supply? First determinant is the price of the product. Higher will be the price, higher will be the quantity supply and vice versa. Second one is the cost of the production. If the cost of production it will increase or it will decrease, it will affect to the quantities supply in the market. Prices of related products, it will also affect the supply into the market. Then change in the supply versus the change in the quantity supply. There will be change in the quantity supply means when the quantity supply is changing due to the change in the price of that commodity. Suppose there is quantity in the x-axis, price in the y-axis, then if the price will increase, then the quantity supply will increase. That will be explained by the same supply curve, that will be upward movement along the SA supply curve. But if price remaining same, the supply will increase due to other factors that will be explained by outward shift of the supply curve. Or we can say quantity supply happens because of the relationship between price and the supply. But um, change in the supply happens when there is a change in the supply because of other factors. Then change in the quantity supply, it will be explained with the same supply curve. On the other hand, change in the supply, it will be explained by the shift of the supply curve and it is affected by the other factors. Then change in the supply, so already it is explained, change in the supply and change in the quantity supply. Then we'll see individual supply to the market supply. The market supply is nothing but the sum of individual supply. Suppose there are three farms in the market or three sellers into the market, and the market supply is the supply of or the quantity supply of individual seller A plus B plus C, or sum of the supply of each farm in the market is equivalent to the total market supply. At a higher price, farm A, farm B, farm C, they are interested to supply more, as a result of which the sum of market supply is more. At a lower price, the sum of market supply is less. Then the most important thing is market equilibrium. How the market price and output is being determined. Suppose whenever we are purchasing something, we have to pay some the price. How that market price is determined? That market price is determined with the help of market demand and market supply. Okay, and we know that market demand curve, it will be downward sloping, representing a higher market demand at a lower price, and vice versa. And market supply curve, it will be upward sloping, which explains a higher market supply at a higher price, and vice versa. Now if there will be, if the market price, it will be very less. If the market price, it will be very less, then there will be excess demand in the market and shortage of supply in the market, which is called, as the excess demand situation. When the price, it will be low, demand will be high, supply, it will be less, as a result of which there will be excess demand in the market. And when there will be excess demand in the market, this will lead to increase in the market the price. On the other hand, if the market, the price is very high, then every farm in the market will be interested to supply more to the market. On the other hand, the households, it will be demanding less unit at a higher price, as a result of which there will be excess supply in the market. And when there will be excess supply in the market, this will lead to reduction in the market price. Then how the market price and output, it will be determined? Market price and output, it will be determined where total market demand is equal to total market supply, or when demand curve and supply curve in the market will intersect each other. If the market price, it will be very less, it will lead to, okay, someone is asking something. No. When the market price, it will be very less, it will lead to increase in the market price because of excess demand. When the market price, it will be very high, the market price will start falling because of excess supply in the market. And the market price will be in equilibrium when total market demand equal to total market supply. Okay, so it is all about your demand, supply, and equilibrium. And if you have any doubt, you can ask. Any doubt, anything you want to ask? Demand, supply, how the market equilibrium achieves, and how the market price and outputs are determined. What is the law of demand, law of supply? Why the demand curve is downward sloping? Why the supply curve is upward sloping? When there will be excess demand in the market, what will happen to the market price? When there will be excess supply in the market, what will happen to the market price? All these things we explained in this the class. If you have any doubt, you can ask. Otherwise, here I am adding the attendance link. You please give your attendance, then we can close.